Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome back for another Poetry Thursday. I'm excited for Poetry Thursday. And as you may already know, it is Victober, a month-long event where folks all over BookTube are reading and talking about Victorian-era literature. And so I figured, since I'm not necessarily doing that with Victorian literature, I would let Poetry Thursday be taken over by a Victorian. And I'm going to try something a little different with my approach here. As you probably already know and could have guessed, I tend to like older, longer, epic style poems. And so rather than reading a snippet and saying, hey, you can go read the rest later, blah, 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 I thought I would start by taking one of the Victorian era poets, Alfred Lord Tennyson, and pick a story out of Idylls of the King, which I just hauled yesterday, 2 days ago, a couple days ago on this channel. I'm filming this Wednesday, so it was yesterday to me, it'll be 2 days ago to you. But I just hauled this. It's a book that I wanted to get back into my collection. And so I'm going to pick one of the stories in here and break it into 4 parts and try to read roughly a quarter of it each week for your enjoyment here on Poetry Thursday. And so I've chosen The Holy Grail, because who wouldn't want to read the story of the Holy Grail as retold by Alfred Lord Tennyson in Idylls of the King? So I'm going to be reading roughly 6 pages each week out of here for you. So when I get to the end of the month, you can go and watch all 4 of them back to back to back to back and have the cohesive narrative being the end. And if this is something that you enjoy, let me know, because there are plenty of poems, even from the Romantics, such as Keats and Shelley and Byron and Wordsworth, that would be too long to fit into one video, but would easily be able to be done over multiple weeks. And I could pick one of those great poems each month or every couple weeks, and we can enjoy some longer poetry together. So, The Holy Grail, from Idylls of the King by Alfred Lord Tennyson. From noiseful arms and acts of prowess done in tournament of tilt, Sir Perceval, whom Arthur and his knighthood called the pure, had passed into the silent life of prayer, praise, fast, and alms, and leaving for the cowl the helmet in an abbey far away from Camelot, there, and not long after, died. And one, a fellow monk among the rest, Ambrosius, loved him much beyond the rest, and honored him and wrought into his heart a way by love that wakened love within, to answer that which came. And as they sat beneath the world-old yew tree, darkening half the cloisters on a gustful April morn that puffed the swaying branches into smoke, above them, ere the summer when he died, the monk Ambrosius questioned Perceval. O brother, have I seen this yew tree smoke, spring after spring, for 100 years? For never have I known this world without, nor ever strayed beyond the pale. But thee, when first thou camest, such a courtesy spake through the limbs and in the voice, I knew, for one of those who eat in Arthur's hall. For good ye are and bad, and like to coins, some true, some light, but every one of you stamped with the image of the king. And now tell me, what drove thee from the table round, my brother? Was it earthly passion crossed? Nay, said the knight, for no such passion mine, but the sweet vision of the Holy Grail drove me from all vain glories, rivalries, and earthly heats that spring and sparkle out among us in the jousts, while women watch who wins, who falls, and waste the spiritual strength within us, better offered up to heaven. To whom the monk, the Holy Grail, I trust we are green in heaven's eyes, but here too much we moulder, as to things without I mean. Yet one of your own knights, a guest of ours, told us this in our refectory, but spake with such a sadness and so low. We heard not half of what he said. What is it, the phantom of a cup that comes and goes? Nay, monk, said, what phantom? Answered Perceval. The cup itself, from which our Lord drank at the last sad supper of his own, this from the blessed land of Aromat. After the day of darkness, when the dead went wandering over Moriah, the good Saint Arimathean Joseph journeying brought to Glastonbury, where the winter thorn blossoms at Christmas, mindful of our Lord. And there a while it bode, and if a man could touch or see it, he was healed at once by faith of all his ills. But then the times grew to such evil that the holy cup was caught away to heaven and disappeared. To whom the monk from our old books I know, that Joseph came of old to Glastonbury, and there the heathen prince Arviragus gave him an isle of marsh whereupon to build. And there he built with wattles from the marsh a little lonely church in days of yore. For so they say these books of ours, but seem mute of this miracle, far as I have read. But who first saw the holy thing today? A woman, answered Percival, a nun, and one no further off in blood from me than sister. And if ever holy maid with knees of adoration wore the stone, a holy maid, though never maiden glowed, but that was in her earlier maidenhood, with such a fervent flame of human love, which being rudely blunted, glanced and shot only to holy things, to prayer and praise she gave herself, to fast and alms, and yet none as she was, the scandal of the court, sin against Arthur and the Table Round, and the strange sound of an adulterous race across the iron grating of her cell beat, and she prayed and fasted all the more. And he to whom she told her sins, or what her all but utter whiteness held for sin, a man well nigh 100 winters old, spake often with her of the Holy Grail, a legend handed down through 5 or 6, and each of these 100 winters old, from our Lord's time, and when King Arthur made his Table Round, and all men's hearts became clean for a season. Surely he had thought that now the Holy Grail would come again, but sin broke out. Ah, Christ, that it would come, and heal the world of all their wickedness! O Father, asked the maiden, might it come to me by prayer and fasting? Nay, said he, I know not, for thy heart is pure as snow. And so she prayed and fasted till the sun shone and the wind blew through her, and I thought she might have risen and floated when I saw her. For on a day she sent to speak with me, and when she came to speak, behold, her eyes, beyond my knowing of them, beautiful, beyond all knowing of them, wonderful, beautiful in the light of holiness. And, oh, my brother Percival, she said, sweet brother, I have seen the Holy Grail. For waked at dead of night, I heard a sound as of a silver horn from o'er the hills, blown, and I thought, it is not Arthur's use to hunt by moonlight. And the slender sound as from a distance beyond distance grew, coming upon me. Oh, never harp nor horn, nor aught we blow with breath, or touch with hand, was like that music as it came. And then streamed through my cell a cold and silver beam, and down the long beam stole the Holy Grail, rose red with beatings in it, as if alive, till all the white walls of my cell were dyed with rosy colors leaping on the wall. And then the music faded, and the Grail passed, and the beam decayed, and from the walls the rosy quiverings died into the night. So now the holy thing is here again among us, brother. Fast thou too and pray, and tell thy brother knights to fast and pray, so perchance the vision may be seen by thee and those, and all the world be healed. Then leaving the pale nun, I spake of this to all men, and myself fasted and prayed always, and many among us, many a week, fasted and prayed even to the uttermost, expectant of the wonder that would be. And one there was among us, ever moved, among us in white armour, Galahad. God make thee good as thou art beautiful, said Arthur, when he dubbed him knight, and none in so young youth was ever made a knight till Galahad. And this Galahad, when he heard my sister's vision, filled me with amaze. His eyes became so like her own, they seemed hers, and himself her brother more than I. Sister or brother none had he, but some called him a son of Lancelot, and some said begotten by enchantment. Chatterers they, like birds of passage piping up and down, that gape for flies. We know not whence they come, for when was Lancelot wanderingly lewd? But she, the one sweet maiden, shore away, clean from her forehead all that wealth of hair, which made of silken mat work for her feet, and out of this she plaited broad and long a strong sword belt, and wove with silver thread, and crimson in the belt a strange device, a crimson grail with a silver beam, and saw the bright boy knight, and bounded on him, saying, my knight, my love, my knight of heaven, O thou my love, whose love is one with mine, I, maiden, round thee, maiden, bind my belt, go forth, for thou shalt see what I have seen, and break through all, till one will crown thee king, and far in the spiritual city. And as she spake, she sent the deathless passion in her eyes through him, and made him hers, and laid her mind on him, and he believed in her belief. Then came a year of miracle, O brother. In our great hall there stood a vacant chair, fashioned by Merlin ere he passed away, and carven with strange figures. And in and out the figures, like a serpent, ran a scroll of letters in a tongue no man could read. And Merlin called it the Siege Perilous, perilous for good and ill. For there, he said, no man could sit, but he should lose himself. And once by misadvertence Merlin sat in his own chair, and so was lost. But he, Galahad, when he heard of Merlin's doom, cried, if I lose myself, I save myself. Then on a summer night it came to pass, while the great banquet lay along the hall, that Galahad would sit down in Merlin's chair. And all at once, as there we sat, we heard a cracking and a riving of the roofs, and rending and a blast, and overhead thunder. And in the thunder was a cry, and in the blast there smote along the hall a beam of light 7 times more clear than day, and down the long beam stole the Holy Grail, all over covered with a luminous cloud, and none might see who bare it. And it passed, but every knight beheld his fellow's face, as in a glory, and all the knights arose, and staring each other at like dumb men, stood till I found a voice, and swear a vow. I swear a vow before them all that I, because I had not seen the Grail, would ride a 12-month and a day in quest of it, until I found and saw it, as the nun my sister saw it. And Galahad sware the vow, and good Sir Bors, our Lancelot's cousin, swear. And Lancelot sware, and many among the knights, and Gawain sware, and louder than the rest. Then spake the monk Ambrosius, asking him, what said the king? Did Arthur take the vow? Nay, for my lord, said Perceval, the king was not in the hall, for early that same day scraped through a cavern from a bandit bold. An outraged maiden sprang into the hall, crying on help, for all her shining hair was smeared with earth, and either milky arm red rent with hooks of bramble, and all she wore torn as a sail that leaves the rope is torn in tempest. So the king arose and went to smoke the scandalous hive of those wild bees that made such honey in his realm. Howbeit some little of this marvel he too saw, returning over the plain that then began to darken under Camelot, whence the king looked up, calling aloud, lo, there! The roofs of our great hall are rolled in thunder smoke. Pray heaven they be not smitten by the bolt, for dear to Arthur was that hall of ours, as having there so oft with all his knights feasted, and as the stateliest under heaven. I think that's a good stopping point there. Yeah, because there's a lot more discussion there, but long and short, so you heard it. There's a nun who saw the Grail. Then we had some knights that have taken a vow to go and find the Grail, led off by Galahad. Galahad the pure, in Arthur's own words, God make thee good as thou art beautiful, when he dubbed him a knight. So that is part 1 out of 4 that I'll be reading out of this. I'll probably actually toss this on my nightstand and try to get through all of it this month to get a review for my Victober review, the only Victober I'm planning on doing this month, I think. Just because it's the only thing that's going to align with my mood reading, I think. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for next week.